would.
He's acting like Puna acts. Which is
acting like a cat that's in charge, I take it.
He does believe that the world is organized on his model.
Yeah, well, you know what happens to people that think like that? Now, I don't know if that happens to cats that think like that. But
they commit murders.
Yeah, well, let's hope the cat doesn't commit a murder, although it's probably not unheard of. I'm sure somewhere in the annals of something. You okay?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, we are live, and that's obviously a statement of understatement. So we are Mikey and Vinnie. We're here every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday morning at 10 or thereabouts. We make no guarantees about that 10 because we are a couple of guys who are in the stage of life where time has been not suspended, but certainly moved around.
I would have to say that there are no guarantees in the relationship between our audience and ourselves. We're here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. That's about all we can guarantee. But
well,
there are no.
I'm not saying the 10 o'clock hour. I mean, it's 10:28 now. Usually we're at 10:10, but sometimes the old man problems creep up on you, and and for whatever reason, we can't hit the button at 10:10. Sometimes we're here at 10:10 and we just can't hit the button.
Try as we may.
Try as we may. Well, Curtis LeMay, for that matter. Or
whatever happened to him? Did he just have a heart attack and retire?
Well, I think he tried to take over a small country, and that didn't work out too well for him.
Did he try the Ukraine? Other people have tried that.
Well, the last I saw of Curtis LeMay was being led off into the jungle with a bunch of Zulus and a diamond that Superman had compressed out of a piece of coal.
And he made it like instantly?
Right in front of your eyes. I mean, you saw him take the diamond, take the coal, squeeze it, and there it was, a diamond.
Can he do the same thing with a barbecue briquette?
I wonder about that because I don't think a barbecue briquette is really coal. We call it charcoal, but I don't know that that's really coal. I mean, I would think that.
Well, I think that's a good question that we need to answer.
By bituminous and the different kinds of coal, I never saw charcoal briquette in the mix there. Speaking about coal,
you can turn it into not a diamond, but a zirconium.
I think you could turn it into a couple of screws and a washer. If you press it hard and spins at the same time.
You can laugh at that, but you know what it's like when you have to have the right screw and the right washer to proceed with your job.
Oh yeah. Oh no, I know, and I'm a man who often has put the wrong one in because I don't have the patience to find the right one, or the right one is lost, or I got an IKEA thing, and the washers and the screws were like nothing you'd ever seen before.
IKEA does not always send all the screws, nails, and fasteners that are required for the project. They may send some, they never send all.
Well, see, I don't know if I agree with that. I think their trick is that they send too many and not the right ones.
You have leftover Phillips screws.
You may get a bag of something, and it might not have anything to do with what you're assembling.
Oh, bag of something, draw near.
Yeah, Irvin Mainway's famous bag of something. 2 for $29 for the kids. So anyway, but we do appear on our Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, and we usually have some interesting things to say. Many times we look at the news and we say, well, many times we look at the sports and we say, well, and sometimes we look at fashion, at music, at,
It's hard not to see the passing of Bobby Whitlock, the keyboardist and singer for Derek on the Dominoes yesterday.
They're dropping like flies, man. This is the time.
At
This
the
is,
age of 70, 78, I think.
the people who entertained us in the 60s and 70s are now reaching that age where they're either up on stage and going at it, or they're, I'm surprised too, because, and certainly these guys are, were part of our youth, but and part of our growing up and part of our lives. Even though a guy like Bobby Whitlock, who you may not, the average music person may not know. I think I'd be hard pressed to remember everybody in Derek and the Dominoes, but
well, there was Derek on the lead guitar, Eric Clapton. For a while, there was Duane Allman until he died on the second guitar. On the bass was Carl Rattle. The drums was Jim Gordon, and the keyboards and vocals were Bobby Whitlock.
Right. But I'm saying the average, I consider us to be above average when it comes to music. We know things. I mean, again, you could stop 100 people on Hollywood Boulevard, and nobody could give you that lineup.
And
I couldn't probably give you that entire lineup.
Who was the original group from which all those players came, including the horn section of Jim Price and the saxophone player that played with the Stones for years?
Who was the original group where they came? I know that, and unfortunately, when you ask me memory questions, my memory is fading.
The original group was Delaney and Bonnie and Friends. All those guys were in the same band.
Yes, that's that's odd that you say that, because I have maybe two Delaney and Bonnie albums, 1, 2, but I have the one with looks like it almost looks like the cover of Watertown from Frank Sinatra.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like some kind of sketch of and I know the Watertown one, I think it's a Western that the artist put on the cover, but yeah, and I think that was the first Delaney and Bonnie, who's wasn't their biggest song, Only You Know and I Know?
Bobby Keys. There you go. Bobby Keys and Jim Price.
A name which you would know. I mean, if you've been around music, Bobby Keys has been, he's been at the Hit Factory a time or twice.
He knows his onions when it comes to playing. Clapton joined Delaney, Bonnie and Friends, and so did George Harrison. They played on their tour of Europe. And the live recordings of those recordings, according to Jim Price, who I interviewed, said that there were times when the stage seemed to just levitate, where the unison playing and the great contributions from all the remarkable players that were in that band, and it would just get to the point where you feel the whole stage rising.
I would imagine that. I've just, I don't know why, the last week or so, different parts of the concert for Bangladesh has been coming up on my YouTube feed.
Right.
And so I've gone through, not all, I haven't watched it all at once, but just watched songs from here and there. And it's amazing. I mean, that show, and that was the first. I mean, you could talk about your Comic Relief, and you could talk about your Farm Aid and your, all your different benefit concerts.
Right.
But before the concert for Bangladesh, there wasn't anything. I don't know that there were benefit concerts before that. except for the benefit of the organized crime or the mafia or something like that.
Was
But
the staging of Dylan, Half the Beatles, Badfinger, Billy Preston, Ravi Shankar. Who am I missing?
oh man, boy, you had
All
to
in
have.
one night.
Well, didn't
One night
Lennon
only.
come out too in that?
Who?
Didn't John Lennon come out at one point in that show?
No.
See, for some reason, I thought John Lennon showed up at that show. I mean, I know it was George and Ringo,
Right.
but for some strange reason, I always thought that John Lennon. Yeah, maybe I'm thinking of another show that
The
I.
Elton John show that he promised when he sang on Whatever Gets You Through the Night, if it got to be number one, he would appear on stage with Elton John. And it got to be number one, and Elton was playing in New York, and Lennon took part in that one.
Anyway, that's quite a. Yeah. Anyway, I like that a lot of these shows are on YouTube that people have seen fit either before they die or if they have these collections or if they're in public domain now, that they've been put on. You can find some interesting gems when you search for these. I found the other day, and again, it just came up in my feed, but I found a performance of the Skyliners, Jimmy Beaumont and the Skyliners, from, there used to be, when there was Rolling Stone first started, you'll probably remember there was also another magazine called Rock Magazine, ROCK. And they were based in New York, and they were based down in the East Village. And they were a pretty formidable competitor to Rolling Stone for a couple of years. Very well done magazine. But they had somebody on the staff that really embraced the doo-wop sound and the rhythm and blues sound of the 1950s and early 60s. And so they did a series of rock and roll revival shows that were called the Rock and Roll Revival at the Academy of Music. Actually, they weren't called the Rock and Roll Revival. These were pre the Madison Square Garden shows.
Is this Gus Gossard?
Yeah, Gus Gossard was involved. Gus Gossard was involved in these, but it was Alan Freed's band. You know, the band that he used to use for his live shows. I forget the guy's name that was the leader of that band, but they were still alive and together. And you know, it was only 5 years after Freed's death, and so they put these shows on, and I was lucky enough to get to go to most of them. I think there was a series of 5 of them, and I thought these things, 1970, you think that these things are lost. You know, they're sitting in somebody's drawer somewhere on, decomposed Super 8 film or something. But lo and behold, a number of them are on YouTube. And you can go back and see at the Academy of Music, which later became the Palladium, on East 14th Street, was this small theater. It wasn't a big theater, but man, they packed some acts in there. I mean, they had the original play. I mean, if you were into, Dion played a number of those shows. Skyliners, as I said, Fred Paris and the Five Satins, the original Penguins, Buck
I was
Rand.
going to say the Penguins had to be there.
Just a ton of those of that era, which at that time wasn't that far away. I mean, it was, less than 10, 12 years after the heyday of street corner doo-wop. And a lot of those bands were, and I remember it was so funny because they would, you would talk to some of those guys because it wasn't like it was still kind of those informal days, and when bands would come out and sit in the audience, and watch other bands and stuff, and you would talk to guys and or hear interviews with guys. They say, "Oh yeah, well, Fred Parrish, the Five Satins, he's working in the post office." They'd go to find somebody. They'd find them working as the dog catcher in Nutley, New Jersey, or something like that.
Come on, we're going over to Johnny Maestro's house. Come along.
Yeah, well, luckily, Maestro was one of the guys that didn't have to have a second career. He was pretty well, had worked through that whole thing from the Crests right on through to Brooklyn Bridge, and I mean, until he passed away, he had worked pretty consistently. But most of those guys, especially the black acts, they got taken for all. I mean, they didn't get a dime out of a lot of that stuff, and had to have jobs. Well, a lot of them were bus drivers. I remember, kind of not studying, but at the time looking at, what these guys were doing. And there was a bunch of bus drivers. Well, most of them around in New York or Philadelphia or Virginia, Northern Virginia area, Washington, D.C. And, you were amazed because, my conception of when I was a kid is that when these guys had hit records, they were on Easy Street. They had a hit record and they were living in a mansion in Hollywood somewhere. Like, a television star or movie stars. But you realize soonly that was not the case.
No. In fact, if you were as a young man on the street corner of Brooklyn, forced to choose between a life as a bus driver or a rock star, what would you choose? And many would choose
a rock star.
Many would choose the rock star, not knowing that they'd have a much more stable life and more income from being a bus driver.
Yeah, long term. But, when somebody comes up to you and says, we'll put your name in a jukebox and you can get on a bus and tour with, I don't know, a cavalcade of stars, and all the girls are, nipping at your heels because you have a hit record, or the boys, for that matter, with the girl groups, you're not really thinking about stability and long term. And, once you get hooked on heroin, you're really not thinking about stability or long term.
And funny that the business was fragile in terms of its disregard for treating the artist with disdain. The artist was the last consideration. Distribution was important. Owning the publishing was important. Being the record company was important. But being the artist with the hit, that was like the last piece of the puzzle. And there was never any attention paid to maintaining good relationships with the artists. You just get 5 more. Call them the same name.
That was the thing. You could go to any high school in Brooklyn or Queens or the Bronx and come up with 4 more kids that were singing doo-wops in the bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
And, bring them down to the Brill Building and give them a piece of music that was written by Neil Sedaka or somebody like that. And go in there and record this. We'll give you $50 a pop. And, if you came from a poor section of the Bronx and they did that to you, man, they give you $50 and then say, all right, we'll pay you to go out on tour with our cavalcade of stars or, whatever it was. No, it was a completely different model. That's why I hope, and I don't know that it's true. I don't know if they've done it or not done it. I would have to think in my heart of hearts that they have that the artists today that make more money than they would ever be able to spend, even after taxes. Guys like Springsteen and Taylor Swift and all of these artists and Diddy and all of them somehow contributed to a fund to make these people, whoever's left, comfortable, pay their medical expenses and pay their, because they would not be here without those people who were savagely taken advantage of for many, 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 many years.
You're talking about Music Cares?
Music Cares, or I know there's a fund there's a few different funds. There's a soul music fund, I think, or I think there's a few different, but I don't know how funded they are. I don't know how, I have no idea how much has been contributed to that money, to those organizations, and how the same scandal hasn't ridden those guys as well. I know that it's a shame, because here in Edmonds we're going through it right now, that they're trying to raise money to continue the music programs in the Edmonds high schools, because they're going away. Rick Steves, the travel guy who lives here, has put up $70,000 as a matching fund and challenged people in Edmonds to come up with another $70,000, and that'll give them
so kids in middle school and high school can study music.
Can have a music class a couple of times a week, as opposed to when we were going to school and had a music class every day. Or was it every day? Or maybe it was 2 or 3 times a week. I forget. But, you never paid for anything. You got your violin or your clarinet or whatever instrument that you were learning. And if you were in band, you got your instrument and you took it home and you took care of it. You brought it back. And, I wonder, I hope that, and maybe that's part of what's wrong with the country today, is we don't see those programs as valuable anymore. We don't see music programs as something that kids need to have.
Our granddaughter, Kennedy, studied the violin that way, learned how to play Twinkle Twinkle. And there's no other program that would have offered her that. There's no substitute for trying to play the violin if you don't have a violin.
Right.
You need the violin. Then you need the teacher, and you got to have someone to tune the violin and show you how to tune it. And here's the first note. Dun, 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 dun. Simple, but it could take an amateur a while to figure that out. So the teacher puts you close to the instrument to coax the song from it, show you how it's done, how you use the bow on the string at a certain angle with a certain pull, and then the corresponding push across the strings, which you can only develop through practice and through trial and error and through usage. You need the violin. There's nothing else that's going to work.
Right.
No way you're going to play the violin without one.
You're not gonna do it on the app on your phone, whatever, I forget what they call that app. No, it's not going to give you the same. It's not going to give you what you need.
No. Excuse me. Coffee.
Yeah, be drinking, Michael. Be drinking. But luckily we'll be building a new ballroom on the side of the White House. So this way, we'll be spending a lot of money to ugly up the White House. Not going
to be called a ballroom. It's going to be called the Putin Room. And this is so Vladimir Putin doesn't have to come to Washington. He can just stay in his apartment in the White House.
Can you have you seen what that thing is projected to look like?
It looks like a whore's pantry.
I'm just aghast that they would do that to that building, that they would be
What
allowed.
Donald Trump has in place of taste is too ugly to even give a word to. He is a common, disappointing, shallow, ghastly beast. And don't let him touch any of the food at Pizza Town since 1958.
I saw, I've seen what the plans are for that and what it's going to look like. And it's unbelievable. It's not to scale. It's not, it just looks like a huge, just airport hangar on the side of the White House.
And what are they going to do? Have parties? Just a series of parties? No, who's going to come to a Donald Trump party at the White House?
His sycophants, of course.
Same people that go to the cabinet meetings and the press conferences, and the same people over and over again.
Oh, I'm sure you noticed at that press conference this morning that they had, that the assembled pool of reporters, several of them, broke out in applause when what's her name, Carolyn, whatever it is, was introduced.
Pirro, whatever her name is.
No. This was the what's her name, Carol, the press secretary, the one who runs the press conferences. I guess she wasn't running this one, and she was in the back of the room, and they brought her up, and half the place burst out into applause. It's sad. It's sad. Oh, Janine Pirro, yeah, she's a tough talker. She thinks, see this. They all think this is a TV show.
It is.
They all think this is a TV show.
Non-scripted.
And they should probably ask, they should ask, they have a long list of people to ask how your association with Donald Trump works out.
Do you have to call in? Do you call a number every morning to find out what you believe?
Oh, you can start asking Leon, and go backwards to Mike Lindell, and then backwards to Rudy Giuliani, and backwards to who?
Mike Pence.
Mike Pence, yes, Mike Pence. Mark Meadows. These are all people that thought they had a life.
General Kelly.
Yeah, all of these people who now are on the
scrap heap of history. They've all been delegated to the scrap heap of history. They're all as important to Donald Trump as Michael Cohen is important to him. Someone from his past, so he doesn't remember him. I remember the name, but I couldn't tell you what he did for me. He worked for a very short time. We didn't know each other very well.
Yes, Scaramouche, the Mooch. There's another guy that, now I don't know what his thing would have been anyway. I don't know what his deal was. He was a guy that raised money in New York for candidates and got involved with Trump, and that lasted what was he, the 2 weeks?
Wasn't even 10 days.
But it certainly ruined his anyway. And it just seems anybody that gets involved with him, but yet there's no shortage of a line of people that want to get involved with him. And
Scaramouche didn't realize that he wasn't supposed to do the talking. Trump was supposed to do the talking.
Right.
Only Trump.
Right. That's the thing that you have to realize if you're going to get a job there, is that your job is to call the media up and say, be here at this time so you can hear the boss.
Right.
And if you can do that, and then defend
what's he going to say today? Well, we don't really know until he says it. That's just
what was he talking about in this press conference about putting ropes around the monuments in Washington to pull them down? I'd never heard that before.
Well, he's calling in national federal troops to man the streets of Washington, D.C., which he asserts, which he alleges is in the middle of a crime spree that can't be stemmed. There's no crime spree. There's no numbers to support that theory.
The numbers are down. The numbers of the numbers on crime in Washington, D.C., as it is in many cities, are actually down, which will. I don't know how that will last. You wouldn't know it by watching the news in Seattle, but according to the stats, year over year, violent crimes are down, murders are down. Just everything seems to be down. Property crimes are probably up, but that's probably a condition of the economy, no?
And Washington, D.C. was noted for its crime. It was a place where there was a certain level of danger on the streets of the metropolitan area. They have their own police force. They have their own fire department. They don't need the Marines and the National Guard to supplement them. And the worst part about this idea that peace and calm comes with the presence of the National Guard and the Marines is that they are not, neither of them are trained in law enforcement, maintaining crowds, entering buildings the way the police are trained to neutralize situations. And this is just going to be a can of worms, expensive. And if you remember what it was like when you called out the National Guard in California with Los Angeles riots, so the end result was it was very difficult to billet them. They didn't have a place to stay. They didn't have apartments. They were sleeping on the floor in their uniforms. It was a poorly planned, terribly executed program. And those guys, last I heard, they never got paid. You call out the National Guard, keep them for 2 weeks and don't pay them. That's ballsy.
Yeah, you probably should pay them. I mean, but we live in a country where you want to do it for Donald Trump. You don't want to do it because you get paid. You want to do it for Donald Trump. Not even the country.
That's why Tim Kaine, Superman, wants to be involved. Superman says, I'm going to be a secret policeman too. I'm going to wear a mask and I'm going to do the stuff that the ice guys do. I can't wait to become one of them and do the job that they do.
Well, I don't know if you saw Bill Maher on Friday night.
I did.
But I think the biggest joke that I saw all weekend was Dr. Phil, who one could only pray that he would sustain some kind of, not life-threatening, but like some serious injury, like a large broken leg. I mean,
compound fracture.
Yeah, compound fracture. What authority does he have? I mean, who is he to be on these raids? Who is he to
just a putz for the film crew?
Be a part of it, yeah. At least if you want to say to me, well, Janine Pirro, well, at least she's been a prosecutor and she's, you may not like her, but she can say, well, I've been this and I've done this. What is Dr. Phil? He's not even a psychiatrist, is he?
He's not a doctor of anything.
Yeah, he's not. He just calls himself Dr. Phil. We got Oprah to thank for him. That was your number one reason why a couple of years ago when they were saying that Oprah should be president, that they should run Oprah for president, that it was please. She's the woman who unleashed Dr. Phil on the world. He was nothing before he was a football player that got hit a few too many times in the head.
He's a simple-minded, well-meaning.
I don't think he's well-meaning at all.
He's slightly angry.
Yeah, I don't think he's well-meaning at all. I think he is somebody who is out for his his own pocket, his own ego,
Sure.
and he'll step on and embarrass and um, cajole people or embarrass them into saying and doing things that no normal person would do. That and the exploitiveness in what he does in his shows and all of his stuff is horrible. In some ways it's worse than Maury or what was the guy, Jerry Springer or those guys, because he actually pretends like he's a professional. And the only thing he's selling you is the same thing that Dr. Fiver sold you in 1865, except he doesn't have a horse and
Snake
a
oil
wagon.
bottle.
Yeah.
A bottle of snake oil and a Bible.
Yep. That's
You're
the
going to need
only
both
thing he's
these.
selling you. He's no better than Jim Baker. He's no better than Oral Roberts or any of those people that
Benny Hinn.
want to grab your faith and twist it to their
And
own means.
see if there's $20 attached to it.
Yeah. John Oliver did a great thing, I don't know, a couple of years ago, I guess now, where he sent money to one of these, I forget which one it was, but he sent money to one of these evangelists, and the responses that he got back and the things he was, told to do were hilarious. If you can find it, it's worth a look. It's he sent, I forget how much money to one, and they said, well, now you have to take this money and put it in a paper and send it to me and put it and you'll get this much money back. And it was a chain letter. It was a religious chain letter.
Yeah.
But people fall for it. That's how we got the guy we got in the White House now.
Yep. Undoubtedly.
Now, I don't know. I don't live in D.C. I don't know what the conditions are there. I've heard from people I know that go there and live there and work there that it's a tough place. I mean, I used to go there when I was back in Pittsburgh because the car company that I get one of the series of cars from for their office for Pittsburgh was in Washington, D.C. So I would, from time to time, drive to D.C. to either exchange a car or hang out or, so I would go there 4 or 5 times a year. And I never was in fear of my life. Now, I know things happen. I know it was a hairy place. And I know there was a big drug problem. But,
and it was a very difficult city to drive in terms of going from one side of town to the other. It's a jumble.
You just got to aim, my friend. You just got to aim.
I can still see Capitol Hill. We got to get there. How are we going to get there? It's not going to be easy. If you'll just keep your eye on Capitol Hill, I'll try and get us closer.
And nobody will want to tell you. Nobody in D.C. will say to you, well, let me tell you how to get there. You go there. If you don't know how to get there, we ain't going to tell you. It's a strange city, D.C.
Just checking the weather because we've had very hot days. It's going to be another day. Our high today will be 90. It's already 81. We're getting sunny conditions and warm weather for LA. And my report for the San Francisco Giants is going to be mercifully brief. We've had interesting couple of days in that Giants can't seem to sustain their winning ways. We lost 2 out of 3 to the Washington team. That's it. Washington came to town and beat us 2 out of 3. Now we have 3 games with San Diego that are vital to our standings and our ability to move ahead in the standings. And following San Diego will be Tampa Bay, 3 games. And then we were on the road back with San Diego again. So what we learned from the 3 games we were approaching with San Diego will turn into a total experience on the road and at home of 7 games with San Diego. And those 7 games could make the difference in where we actually stand at the end of the season, because it's an opportunity to gain. And we got the Dodgers coming up in September, and it'll be the only other time that we'll be directly playing the teams that are ahead of us. So these are the times, these are the games, these are the efforts that must produce victories for to gain any ground on the National League West.
Well, the Mets fared no better. You know, they fared absolutely no better. And it's sad because it's falling apart. It's pitching. I mean, it's offense too, but it's pitching. This is a team that when we, the All-Star break was either I forget if they were a game ahead of the Phillies or maybe they were a half game behind, but they was kind of swapping positions at the top. I think as of this morning, they're 4 games back, 5 games back, and show no signs of life.
Huh.
The other day, was it yesterday? Yeah, yesterday we watched the number 3 hitter bunting to get a run.
Did he?
Yeah.
Did he produce the run?
Well, he moved the runner over. He sacrificed, bunted him over. After that hitter, the 2 hitter in the lineup, bunted to get on base. So I don't know. I think if you got your 2, 3, and 4, and 5 hitters bunting, not that I always disagree with it, but you're desperate. You're desperate. If you can't let your guys swing away in that core of the lineup position, you're in trouble. And the Mets are in trouble.
Who's your hitting instructor?
Beats the crap out of me. I have no idea.
Teams that don't produce runs should be firing their hitting instructors every 6 weeks. Get somebody in there who's got a plan and a scheme and a direction to take the team. Well,
but I mean, does a hitting instructor? I don't know. I mean, I guess you can say in some instances they do make a difference. In some instances they don't. I mean, when you have a team of guys that are making the kind of bank that the Mets are making,
they should know how to hit.
You shouldn't even need a hitting coach. You should know how to hit the ball. If you're Juan Soto, if you're Francisco Lindor, and you're hitting in the first week of August 250, no hitting coach is going to help you. The video should help you, watching the video. But I don't know. It's just there's just something wrong. There's something that's become wrong with this team. And I don't know if it's the manager. I don't know if it's the hitting coaches, the pitching coaches, or what it is. I think part of it is they just have no pitching. Nothing. The guys that they thought were going to be good have just they get one good performance out of him, but then they call a bullpen in, and
bullpen can't hold.
Can't do anything. They've had 60 pitchers, I think. I think they've hit the 60 pitcher mark for the season. It's a lot of pitchers. Meanwhile, at least there's some salvation in my baseball because the Mariners are just, keep on winning. It was Ichipalooza this weekend here. And it was nice. It was nice that he was honored. Nice he had his number retired. Nice that the fans acknowledged him. But it was also nice that they won games. And they seem to, I don't want to say that Cal Raleigh is everything to this team, but he seems to have taken this team and put him on his back.
How many home runs now? 45?
45, I believe. So, I think the more I look at the Mariners, the more I think this team is a World Series contender. Show me another team that's really, you could give me the Brewers. They're pretty, they're fairly hot right now. And the Phillies in the National League, but in the American League, I think, and I think this is a great month because it really separates the men from the boys.
Have the fans responded in Seattle?
Yeah. I think they were sold out all 3 games, but it was each time. But no, it's getting tougher to get a ticket. It doesn't have the same feeling as 95 or 2001, but it's getting there. Listen, the Mariners are a team that has been good before and not sustained that. But it feels a little bit different. It feels like they got a legitimate superstar on this team.
As we both know, the Mariners don't have any background to call on what it was like to go after the World Series, get through the playoffs, and go to the show. They've never done it. They have players from other teams that have playoff experience, but as a unit, neither their fans nor their broadcasters nor their core players can say that they've done it with the Mariners, and it's a weird story that they've never come closer. Could be one of the years where they have the opportunity to come as close as they theoretically possibly can.
Yeah, they've come within 1 game. That's the closest that they've come. They've come within 1 game back in '95 against the Yankees, and again in 2000. They came about as close as you could get. Both times under Lou Piniella.
Yeah.
And 2000, I was talking to somebody about this yesterday. 2001 was almost, it was just a crazy year. It was unfortunate for more reasons than baseball, but there's just a sense this year. There's
something different.
Yeah, there's a reserve about it that, we believe in this team, and as August goes on, we'll believe in them more. But when you have a guy like Cal Raleigh in there, when you have a pitching staff like they do, it becomes, as the season progresses, easier to believe in them. It becomes easier to say, this is a team that doesn't have the holes. That
one thing about Raleigh that's so amazing is he's playing at a pace that he is able to stick with. He hasn't gone into any 2-week-long slumps. He continues to hit left and right-handed pitching. He just seems calm and cool under the pressure that it must be feeling.
Right.
And it rubs off on the rest of the team.
Right. No, and he's a yeah. I mean, he's the clubhouse leader. He's the voice of the team, and I think that takes pressure off of some of the other guys.
Yeah.
And another thing that they did this year is that they have not done in other years is that they've gone out and they added at the trade deadline. And they added quality players. They didn't just add a couple of, they showed a willingness to pull the trigger on trading prospects,
and
which they hadn't done in a long time.
Ballsy to replace your corners, but they did, and they improved. That's not easy to do.
Yeah, it was a good thing, and I think that is one of the things that bring fans back, and that put some confidence in fans. And I think people have a lot of confidence in Dan Wilson. He's not Lou Piniella, but he learned under Lou Piniella. So he brings that essence of those the 95 and the 2000 and the 2001 teams with him.
And what would you say are some of the elements of the game that Dan Wilson picked up from Lou Piniella?
Well, I think a sense of that his players will jump through a ring of fire for him is maybe the most important one. He doesn't have the fiery demeanor of Piniella, but one thing you would hear from everybody who was a player almost everybody. There were a couple of guys that didn't like Piniella.
They were on the outs. Anyway.
But they were on the outs quickly. And you hear that about Wilson, that guys will go to the wall for him, that he's instilled a certain sense of responsibility.
There you go.
That you're responsible for your position, and that you have a work ethic. And Danny had one of the best work ethics of any catcher I ever met. He just had that. He had that. He could point to it and say, "Well, I did this." And listen, being a catcher on a team that wins 116 games carries weight.
A lot of preparation. You have to have.
I did this and we did this. This is how you do it. This is how you play the game.
Got to have your pitchers ready in terms of what you're going to call, how you're going to address the lineup of the other team, go at them with their strengths, and what's worked for them in the past. You had the video to support the last time you faced each other. It's a lot of preparation. The catcher leads the discussion in that respect. Some pitchers, I'm sure, want to call their own games, and that's fine if that's what they're up to, and they prepare with the catcher as thoroughly as is necessary. There's a lot to know about the tendencies of the other team that must be utilized, must be ironed out before the game and then utilized during the game.
Yeah, I mean, he's got a. I forget exactly what his record is since he took over this team, but I think it's like 74 and 39 or something like that.
Looking at the numbers, the Giants are 2 games under 500. That's a problem that they're going to have to address with everything else that's going on. And this is the problem. This is what teams like the Mets and the Giants are facing this time of year. They have things that they have to correct, and they don't seem to be able to correct them. They know they're there. They plague them not just today, but today, tonight, tomorrow. The same things plague the team. The same negatives present themselves. And this is the time of the year where you have to fix that. You can't be playing 2 games under 500. And
Well,
imagine that you're chasing.
They're actually 59-59. The Giants.
I thought they were 200. Thank you for the correction.
Yeah, so they're exactly at 500, but they're 5-5 in their last 10. They've lost 2 in a row, and the Mets are on a 7-game jag. They're 1-9 in their last 10. They're 5.5 games out of first place in the East. They're still at 63-55. So that cushion that they had, that huge cushion that they had at the beginning of the season, has just almost melted away. And you look, and right behind them is Miami. Luckily, they get the Braves coming up starting tomorrow, and the Braves are a horror story. They're, I don't know, 16 games under 500, 17 and a half games back. They're done pretty much. I don't, I don't really see them, but it's interesting because you got teams like Miami that you got to watch out for now. They're a team that's actually, banging the barrel, making a little noise. The Giants are in an interesting position because they're not so far out of it that it's over, but it's getting late.
It gets early, and then the next thing you know, it gets late, and it happens every year.
It's getting late, and it's getting earlier every day. It's real when you just look at it. It ain't pretty, but you go to the Central, and we were talking about teams before. Well, Toronto is a team that's that's quietly snuck up on everybody, and all of a sudden, and I'll tell you the team that really is interesting that has snuck up on everybody is Boston. All of a sudden, the Red Sox are in second place in the East and are a team that, that has people scratching their head. When did they get so good? But they got rid of, a lot of people think a big problem on that team was the guy that you have now. And once they got rid of him, they started to play out of their head baseball. And
Rafael Devers.
65-54 is, it's not a bad place to be 4 games back in the second week of August.
Rafael's been on a bit of a home runs tear here. He has 3 in the last 5 days.
Well, hopefully they'll pull it together. It's a lot of fun watching the Yankees
because they're so angry.
They're pretty close, to running Aaron Boone out of town on a dilapidated R146 IRT car.
Oh dear, with the woven seats.
Yeah, that they're looking. I mean, they're every day it grows louder. Every day you hear, not just that you hear people wanting to get rid of him, but they want to get rid of Cashman too. The general manager. I mean, he's been there, I don't know, 20 years, 25 years. And a lot of people are saying, a lot of Yankee fans, a lot of Yankee followers are saying it's time for a new look.
Well, keep your front office intact until you get yourself a new manager, because you're going to have somebody bring in a top-of-the-line guy. And I don't know who that's going to be. I do not know who you're going to get to manage the Yankees.
Well, I mean, probably the way that if they do make a move, and I'm not convinced that they're going to make a move. I'm not convinced that Hank Steinbrenner is going to turn around and just, go through the front office and get rid of everybody. What I do believe is going to happen is if they do get rid of, they won't hire a new manager. They're not going to fire Aaron Boone. They're going to ride it out the rest of the year. I mean, they're 6.5 back. Judge has been hurt, so maybe they'll ride it out the rest of the year. They'll see what Boone can do. I mean, he's brought him back from the dead before. And then in the offseason, if they're going to do anything, they'll hire a general manager and then he'll hire a new manager. There's no sense in hiring a permanent manager, who you're going to get right now anyway.
You're not going to get the type of person that the Yankees specialize in.
Right. And the move for them probably would have been in the offseason to get Terry Francona. But I don't know that he wanted to manage there. I don't know that was his cup of tea. I think he might have been offered that job before and didn't take it. So I don't know. It's a very interesting. I think this is one of the more fun years in baseball because I love the fact that there are different teams up there. I love the fact that Toronto is up there again. I love the fact that even though I'm not a Red Sox fan, I love the fact that everybody was writing them off for dead at the beginning of the season, and now it looks like they're in it.
And they needed to make a move. Normally, every year the Yankees are in the way. Not this year. Yankees are cooperating with Boston and other teams that want to pass them up by not making a case for themselves.
Oh, yeah, there's just not a lot of life up there right now. There's not a lot of life in the Bronx right now. The life in baseball in New York is, or was, up until a week ago, in Queens. I mean, the Mets, and I think the Mets did put a psychological hit on the Yankees when they got Soto. The Yankees are probably glad that they didn't get Soto now. Although I don't know anybody who believes that he is going to stay where he is because he still shows signs of being a quality top line player. I don't know if he's worth the money they paid him, but he certainly shows signs of hitting the ball solid and hitting home runs and getting key hits. But this is a guy that should be a 300 hitter.
And he shouldn't be told that he has to run out those grounders to first base.
Right. And that's the difference between a Soto and a Cal Raleigh.
Yeah.
And the difference, is a Cal Raleigh sets an example for the rest of the team. In New York, it's Pete Alonso that sets the example for the rest of the team. And I understand. Listen, as much as people always want to say that Griffey was a great player here, he was never the leader of that team. That wasn't his bag. He wasn't a leader.
Buhner was more of a leader.
Yeah, Buhner was more of a leader. Edgar was more of a leader in a quieter way, but and Raleigh now is the leader of the team, but he does it by setting an example. I mean, being great and hitting 45 home runs is certainly helping, but he runs out the ground balls. He takes he shows up early. He's in the clubhouse working. He's studying, guys of the opposing team, and he's trying to figure out ways to beat them on every pitch. See, that's what great teams do, Michael. You know it. They beat the other team on every pitch.
Every pitch.
Not every out, every pitch. And I think that Cal Raleigh has brought that Dan Wilson has brought that to the team.
And then they have to understand how that involvement of every pitch is how you win games. There's no time to take a pitch off or not know what's going on for that moment.
Right. I mean, you have to be involved in the game every pitch. You don't stand out in the outfield and look up in the stands at people and that kind of crap. You're watching. You're cognizant of what's happening in that game every time the pitcher releases the ball.
When the Lakers were called the Showtime Lakers, Magic Johnson was on the team and the vital leader of the team in many ways. He said, "We knew that we were the champions, and we fully expected in our daily preparation to win every game. It was our job to be there to win every game. We weren't persuaded that we were going to lose the game, even if we were down 20 points in the fourth quarter. We knew that we could come back. We knew that we had the wherewithal. We had the team. We had the history. We had the drive to win this game and then win every other game as well." And you don't find many teams that can carry that attitude every day.
Well, it was interesting. I saw that in the Brewers this weekend. I saw that in a team that didn't seem to take a pitch off. Even when they were going bad, even when they at the beginning of the game, their pitcher was just was crapping the mound. They were still in it, and they were still, they could have easily taken a game off and said, "Well, we won 2. Let's just get this team out of here." And instead, they fought and they fought and they fought in this game, and they weren't. They had a confidence. Pat Murphy. Now, there's a guy the Yankees, I'm sure, would love to have. I don't know that he's a particularly New York kind of guy, except with a name like Pat Murphy. You'd think he would be, but he's he's one of those managers that he's got that tough look about him. Yeah. And he looks like he doesn't suffer fools easily. And that if you're on that team, you're playing every pitch. You got a responsibility to go out there and do your best every time you go out there. There's no taking pitches off. As many people would do. And if he looks like a guy that if you take a pitch off, you better be able to hide it pretty well. Or you're definitely gonna get some crap when you get back to the dugout or in the office after the game. So anyway. All right, man. I want to add one thing. Just a sad story this morning out of Pittsburgh. An explosion at a U.S. steel plant just south of Pittsburgh. They don't know how many people have been killed, but a room. Because I was watching the Pittsburgh news before. Something, I don't know what it was, but something in the steel plant blew up and injured a large number of people, and critically. And we sometimes forget what it takes to make the stuff that keeps the country running. And those people go to work every day, and you go to work and you don't know if you're coming home.
No guarantees.
No guarantees. And it was, so I pray for those people. Obviously, Clairton is where this plant is located. It's not far from where I lived in the South Hills. And, those towns are tight-knit towns because everybody works at the steel plant. Everybody is, employed by U.S. Steel or somebody that services U.S. Steel, one of their vendors, one of this or that. And so prayers for the people of Clairton this morning. It isn't as bad as many people think it is. I think there's still people trapped there, so they're trying to get them out, or at least recover. Hopefully, a little bit of luck. Knock on wood.
For Micah.
Be as bad as they're saying it is. All right, I will see you Wednesday if the Lord's willing and creek don't go up.
I think what we're looking forward to is a weird, wacky Wednesday. So that'll be something to.
We're looking for Shpolpakia Wednesday.
Well, of course we are, as any sensible person would be.
We're looking to talk a little bit about Shpolpakia. We haven't delved into the country lately, and to be honest with you, I just haven't heard much about it. They're living at peace in Shpolpakia today.
Well, we'll see if they can survive the Putin summit in Alaska.
In Alaska?
Yes. They're meeting.
They thought it was in Gazorch. They're getting ready for the summit in Gazorch.
Well, Putin is going to go to Gazorch and do his part there, but Trump will be waiting in Alaska and nobody will meet him.
Boy, that's going to be sad for the Gazorch Women's Auxiliary.
Yeah, because they sew the doilies and make the flags.
Well, yeah, they sew the doilies, they make the flags. They even shave their legs for this.
What?
They shave their legs for Putin coming to town. Well, up to the knee, because they wear those knee sock. Those
are ugly, but I know what you mean.
Yeah, you've seen people that wear those.
I have.
Both men and women.
I'm afraid you're right, but that's Shpolpakia for you.
That's Shpolpakia, man. Don't mess with the Shpolpakian way.
And
see you Wednesday, man. Peace, love, and Manischewitz.
If you need a frontage road, join us Wednesdays for our 1010 broadcast. We'll discuss Shpolpakian frontage roads.
Well, they have a thing now where they'll send you a kit to build your own.
That's smart. I think their marketing is priceless.
Build your own Shpolpakian frontage road. Get with the rest of the world.
And you get a sign that says "End," just END.
End, and it even comes because they couldn't print up new ones, so they bought some old ones from the Texas Department of Transportation, and they all have bullet holes in them.
Well, they've been slightly used.
Yeah, well, the people go out and they shoot them. Because that's what you do in Texas. You go out to the end of the frontage road and you shoot a sign that says "End."
It happens. It happens every day.
Peace, love, and Manischewitz, baby.
What a wine, Vinnie.
See you, Mikey. Thank you for listening to our little radio show here. We'll see you on Wednesday, folks.
From Shpolpakia.
From Shpolpakia, yes.